Hi, my name is Gerald Houston, Chairman of the Southfield Veterans Commission. This is a day to spend precious time honoring those that gave us the chance through sacrifices of many generations of men and women on our behalf. This is a somber day, a day of reflection, a time to honor and remember those men and women that helped deliver us our freedoms. This year, Veterans Day looks a little bit different than in past years. We're not taking part in ceremonies, parades, or enjoying gatherings. I enjoy these things just as much as the next person. But merriment often makes it easy to lose sight of what this day is truly about. We are, I think, fortunate in some ways in this pandemic. Heeding distractions, hospitalizations, and deaths, instead of remembering the significance of what this day means to those who sacrifice. Behind it all, Veterans Day is about the selfish or selfless sacrifices of American heroes that raise their right hands to say, "It is I who will defend America, and if needed, lay down my life for my country." Please join me in recognizing those among us who have lost a family member to military service. We cannot begin to imagine the magnitude of your loss. The men and women who answered freedom's call are remarkable people. It's especially important during this time of isolation and uncertainty that we honor their legacy. I thank you for thinking of veterans today and for helping to honor the fallen. I also challenge you to keep our fighting men and women in the front of your minds today and every day. Thank you.
Hello, this is Southfield Mayor Ken Siver, here with a Veterans Day message. Southfield has a long tradition of honoring and supporting our veterans through our Veterans Commission and via our Memorial Day and Veterans Day programs that we've held for decades. This year, for safety reasons, we are deviating from our usual observance of Veterans Day and instead taking a look back at Veterans Day programs from the past. Please enjoy these highlights as we continue to recognize and thank the men and women who've served in the armed forces over the years. Thank you.
We want to thank the Southfield Veterans Commission and the Community Relations Department for once again putting this program together. At this time, I would like to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I would also like to introduce Joshua Berg, who is the ministerial intern from the Northwest Unitarian Universalist Church, for an invocation. Mr. Berg.
Thank you very much. How's everyone's spirit? Good. Spirit of life and love, source of meaning of many names and none. It is our wish for peace on earth. Today we honor veterans, those that have served our country and all of humanity by doing work that engenders peace. They have shown courage in the face of danger and risked their lives with the goal of making the world a safer, better, and more peaceful place for all of us. And for that, we are grateful. We do harm to warriors such as these when we do not celebrate their identities with deference, free from any prejudice, gender, age, class, ability, religion, ethnicity, culture. We are not all soldiers in the traditional sense, but it is our obligation as well to persevere courageously, to bring harmony to humanity lest we dishonor those who fought and continue to risk their lives for our peace here on earth. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Berg. And now I'd like to make some introductions of our elected officials. I'm not sure if someone's here from Brenda Lawrence's office. Yes, this is Rose Daddy. Sorry. We haven't met, but please introduce yourself afterwards. State Representative Kyra Harris is with us. Kyra Harris Bolden is with us this morning. From City Council, we have newly elected Tanya Morris and Daniel Brightwell. Or I should say re-elected. And Councilman Ari Mandelbaum, Treasurer Irv Lowenberg, and from the 46th District Court, Judge Cynthia Arvant. Our dynamic Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Jennifer Green. And we have our Police Chief, Elvin Barron, and Fire Chief, Johnny Menifee. I know he's here. He's not in the room. Anyhow. And I think at this point then, we are ready to turn the microphone over to Jeffrey Martin, longtime vocal music director in the Southfield Public Schools, and this fabulous group of kids. I'm going to get out of the way.
Thank you. We're going to sing the Armed Forces medley for you this morning. My students love singing these songs to you. So if you hear your anthem, please do what you normally would do. We're going to hear a Marine go on, ooh, I don't know what kind of here, giving us the fire to sing even more.
Over hill, over dale, we will hit the dusty trail, and the caissons go rolling along. In and out, hear them shout, crowds are large and right about, and the caissons go rolling along. And it's high, high, ye in the field artillery. Shout out your numbers loud and strong, for wherever you go, you will always know that the caissons go rolling along. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for rights and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
Darla Van Hoy, the president of the Southfield Historical Society. Darla?
Thank you. Good morning. If you can see the screen over here, which very few of you might, if I click the forward button, will it go?
Yes.
So some of you might actually get to see some of the images. So we'll try this. Today we are commemorating the centennial of the armistice ending the Great War, signed the 11th day of the 11th month at 1100 hours. This is in Brussels Airport in 2014 at the start of the 100-year commemoration of the beginning of the war in Belgium. The poem by Canadian Dr. John McCrae, In Flanders Fields, sums up the tragedies that this war brought. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. This depicts the trench of death, both then and now, that were built during the Great War. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields, a British cemetery. And now we lie in Flanders Fields, a Canadian memorial. And now we lie in Flanders Fields. Tynecott Cemetery is graciously offered by the Belgian people to serve in perpetuity as a field of peace to the heroes of the Allied armies fallen during the course of the Great War and whose memory is honored here. And now we lie in Flanders Fields, the Flanders Field American Cemetery. And now we lie in Flanders Fields, a German cemetery. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. These two plaques are not from the poem. They read, "It is in truth not for glory, nor riches, nor honors that we are fighting, but for freedom, for that alone, which no honest man gives up, but with life itself. And never may the memory die of dauntless might and courage high." The poem, "If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields." This plaque reads, "If ever proof were needed that we fought for a cause and not for conquest, it could be found in these cemeteries. Here was our only conquest. All we asked was enough soil in which to bury our gallant dead." This is the Meningate in Ypres, Belgium. It was built from 1924 to 1928. British military poet from the Great War, Siegfried Sassoon, wrote these words for the opening of the gate. "Who will remember passing through this gate the unheroic dead who fed the guns? We will never forget." The last post was first rung in 1928 and continues to this day, every day, rain or shine, at 8 p.m. Veterans from other wars and many countries come here to remember with the laying of wreaths, the sound of a bugle. It is a solemn occasion every evening of the year, every year since 1928. The Ypres Memorial bears the names of more than 54,000 soldiers who died before 16 August 1917 and have no known grave. Their name liveth forevermore. This monument is located in Roseland Park Cemetery in Berkeley, Michigan. It depicts a standing figure of a soldier dressed in World War I uniform of jacket, leggings, helmet, ammunition belt at waist, and front and back packs. Proper right arm is raised overhead with grenade in hand. Proper left hand holds rifle at side. Proper right leg is bent. Proper left leg is forward. two tree stumps wrapped in barbed wire are at his feet. This is the symbol for the U.S. centennial of the Great War. The United States entered World War I in April 1917. Over 4.7 million men and women served in the regular U.S. forces, National Guard units, and draft units, with about 2.8 million serving overseas. There were 53,402 killed in action, 63,114 deaths from disease and other causes, and about 205,000 wounded. Michigan contributed over 135,000 servicemen and women and had over 5,000 casualties. Michigan's other contribution to the war effort was in its engineering and manufacturing capability. Thank you. We will never forget.
And one of those people who served, one of the men that served in World War I, not originally from Southfield, was Glenn Levy. Many of you know the name. Maybe some of you attended Glenn Levy Junior High or Glenn Levy Middle School. We have his uniform here to my right, including his dog tags. So when so this is a tribute to Glenn W. Levy. The United States entered World War I on April 6, 1917, and among the thousands of troops to join the war in Europe was Glenn W. Levy. He was born in 1896 in Elsie, Michigan, a small farming town about 35 miles northeast of Lansing. Levy left the farm and enlisted in the Army. He served in the 801st Aero Squadron and was sent to the battle lines in France. At the conclusion of World War I, Levy became an educator and pursued a life of community service. He earned a BA degree from Western Michigan College, now Western Michigan University, and returned to Elsie for 8 years as a grade school teacher. In 1932, Levy earned a master's degree in sociology from the University of Michigan and was hired to teach at John Grace Standard School in Southfield Township. A year later, he was appointed District Number 9 Superintendent of Schools. In those days, there were many small rural school districts in the city, partial and full school districts. There were over 12. He was a teaching superintendent, yet he wore many other hats to keep the John Grace School going and the community thriving. Besides teaching science, he was the school bus driver. He was a newsletter editor, activities director, Boy Scout leader. Unfortunately, we have a picture of him with the Boy Scouts. Counselor, coach, and faculty mentor. He and his wife, Ruth, and daughter, Nancy, lived up the road from John Grace School on Indian Street. Levy organized neighborhood parties for Halloween and Christmas, movie nights, first aid classes, parenting classes, vaccination drives, scout troops, basketball and softball teams, and even a 4-H club. He took the neighborhood children to the free dental clinic in Pontiac, and he arranged for a volunteer nurse to serve the students. To increase the chances of student success, he added a 9th grade to the K-8 school and arranged for tuition so older students could attend high school in nearby communities. At the time, Southfield had no high school. He took students on field trips to broaden their horizons. During World War II, he served as secretary to the Southfield Township Civil Defense Council. He organized skywatch teams that monitored the skies in case of enemy attack. Levy led the John Grace community in school in food rationing, scrap metal and paper drives, the sale of war bonds, and the creation of victory gardens. He even organized a neighborhood food canning bees to make sure students had food during the lean years of the Great Depression and World War II. Glenn Levy was very instrumental in the consolidation of 9 rural school districts into the creation of the Southfield Public Schools and in building Southfield High School. He was also an advocate for the incorporation of Southfield Township into the city of Southfield. In 1947, when the Southfield Public Schools was formed, he was appointed Assistant Superintendent of Schools for the new district. He was active in the Southfield Kiwanis Club. He was active in the Oakland County School Business Officials Association, and he served as treasurer of the Oakland County Public Health Association. Glenn Levy died of a heart attack in June of 1961 at the age of 65. He was still working as Assistant Superintendent of Schools at the time of his death. To honor his memory and dedicated service to our community, the Board of Education named a new junior high school in his honor in 1964. Glenn Levy was a selfless person who, for 29 years, served his community tirelessly. He left a mark on Southfield. In tribute to Glenn Levy, and we place a flower in his memory. I'm now going to call members of the Veterans Commission to come forward if they would like to do a tribute to a veteran.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month, the fighting of World War I ended. That represents 100 years ago. So this is the anniversary of the ending of World War I. And we commemorate all of those who gave their lives, their limbs, in service of our country, so that we may have this freedom. Today we honor all veterans who unselfishly placed their lives on the line for our freedom. Those men and women were ordinary people. They heard the call of duty and answered it. They left their families and their homes, not for recognition or for fame or for honor that we're bestowing on them today, but they left it and they fought to protect our country. So as we honor our veterans and remember their great deeds, let us also salute those who are currently fighting for our freedoms today. I will place my flower in recognition of those soldiers and military men in all of our services who are fighting so that we may have peace in our world.
Other members of the Veterans Commission?
Thank you for coming. I would like to relay a few facts. November 1919, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed November the 11th as Armistice Day. May 13th, 1938, that day became a national holiday where we honored all World War I vets. World War I fighting ended, as has been explained to you, on the 11th hour, 11th day, and the 11th month. 1954, Armistice Day was renamed. It was renamed Veterans Day, honoring all American veterans. We commissioners of the Southfield Veterans Commission are proudly dedicated and continue to fight for vets when they can't be ensuring that their survivors receive the care they earned by signing that last check, their life. Thank you, and may God bless and keep the fallen, our veterans and current active military, and the United States of America.
Any other members of the Veterans Commission want to come forward? If not, I will open the floor to anyone who would like to come up and speak about a veteran that they'd like to honor and pay tribute to this morning. Either way.
This is such a wonderful day, and I'm so happy to see so many people here on this first of the snow of the year. Aren't we proud to be here? Yes, we are. I speak about my late husband, whom I did not know when he served. He served in World War II. He was a radio operator gunner on a B-24. Now, if anybody knew him, he didn't speak much. So I pulled things out of him, because I knew he had adventures. One of the things that he told me, he flew on a B-24 Liberator, operator gunner, because of his musical talents. And of course, later on, many people who knew him knew that he became a cantor. So one day he said, I was on this flight, and we were coming back from our mission, and I looked out my window, and I saw these little planes following us, little planes. And I said, little planes? What do you mean little planes? Well, they had red tails. I never knew who they were because he didn't bother to find out. He was very interesting in that he never asked questions. He married a wife who asked questions. Years and years later, I met a man named Colonel Jefferson. And he was a Tuskegee Airman. And he told me how they followed all these bombers. And poor man, I grabbed him and hugged him, and I said, "You saved my husband's life." And I will never forget that. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy your day. Enjoy Veterans Day. Mwah.
Do you want to say your husband's name?
Oh, that's a good idea. His name was, I don't know why I didn't say this, his name was Norman Rose, and he was the cantor at Temple Emmanuel for almost 50 years. Thank you.
Come up. Yes.
Hello, my name is Karen Fussell. I'm a disabled American veteran, and I'm a member of the Women's Army Corps. And they protected me after I was petitioned to court. I'm here to pay respect to the men in our family, especially my uncle, Ward, who was a combat veteran in World War II, Vietnam, and Korea. He served all 3 wars. And there's a number of men in our family that have served. My parents weren't in uniform, but they served with the federal government. They worked, and they were always happy with their jobs. And I'm just thankful for the family that protected me and paved the way for us to go on and have freedom in this country. Thank you. I appreciate you very much.
Good morning. My name is Pat Haney, and I'd like to thank the Southfield Veterans Commission for giving me the opportunity to honor my father today. My father's name was Charlie Haney, Jr. He served in the Army. I'd also like to thank the Commission for honoring all men and women that served our country proudly. Thank you. When Barbara first told me about there was going to be a little bit different program this year where they were going to allow people to share personal reflections, I was so excited. And I signed up, immediately to be able to talk a little bit about my dad. My dad served during World War II, and he was a war hero. He was a 5-star bronze medal winner, but we never knew until he passed. He never talked about what he had done. He would share with us different experiences about being in the Army, but he never told us that he was a 5-star winner. We did not find out until a general from the Pentagon came to help arrange his services. The Army provided him and paid all the expenses so that we could bury him with full military honors, including he was originally from Arkansas, and he always wanted to be buried at home and go back to his family cemetery, and the Army paid all the expenses and had a guard that stayed with the casket the whole time of that tribute, as well as he had all the ceremonies for full burial. On the 50th anniversary of D-Day, my father was selected by the Free Press to make some reflections. I'd like to share some of those that he shared at that time in his own words. And here's what he shared. There is a misconception that there were no African Americans soldiers at the D-Day invasion. Truth is, they were the first to hit the beach. I was assigned to the 280th Quartermaster Unit, which was an African American unit. The day of the invasion, I remember watching from a ship as the smoke screen and barrage units, which were made up of African Americans, hit the beaches. They didn't have much of a chance. The Germans were heavily fortified there, and most of them didn't make it because they were just sitting targets. But when they got the smoke screen up and you wouldn't see anything, you couldn't see anything, those generators were really churning. We tried to land on Omaha Beach, but the fire was just too hot. They set up an Army ship for the wounded, and the Germans sucked it. I don't remember seeing anything go down that fast. The whole thing went down in 5 minutes. We ended up landing D-Day +3. My father was very, very proud to have served his country, and he often talked about it. Excuse me. I thank you for letting me share this with you, and I am a history buff just like Ken, so I hope I've shared a piece of our history with you. Thank you.
Felix Sullivan. This morning I'd like to recognize 2 veterans that are near and dear to my heart. The first one was my godfather, Felix Simpson, who served in the First World War. I had his uniform at one time when I was a boy. He left it to me. Of course, as a young man, I lost it, but looking at this uniform brings back a lot of memories. He was gassed in the Lorraine Forest in the First World War, came back and suffered his whole life because of that gas. What a true hero. The next one would be Jim Thompson, who served in Korea. Jim was a prisoner of war for 1,004 days in Korea. He was a sergeant major. He kept law and order with those POWs so they wouldn't go too far astray. What a hero this man turned out to be. Came back, now he passed, but will always be near and dear to my heart. There's one more young man that I would like to recognize here while I'm talking, and that is Leo Abramowski. Leo was in the ROTC program at the University of Detroit when I was there as a cadet. Leo was loudmouth, talkative, but I came back from Vietnam, went to the university. On the second floor, there was a plaque up on the wall indicating that Leo Abramowski had been shot down in Vietnam, gave his life for his country. 3 of my heroes. I'd like to ring a bell in their honor.
Siver next. Anyone? Come.
Good morning. My name is Yolanda Haynes.
And my name is Howard Hanks.
I'd like to read a short poem to sort of sum up what I'd like to say briefly about the family members that I have that served. To thank you for your sacrifice, you gave your strength, your youth, and time. You did a job not many will. You deserve our respect, and you do still. We love that you are here with us and honor who you are. A grateful nation appreciates every single scar, for you have learned to bear the weight of defending freedom's call, but you did come back, and that is what we give thanks for most of all. I just want to say briefly that I didn't get a chance to go to the military because my grandmother wouldn't let me go, but my aunt who served, I had a chance to go with her to Hawaii, all the bases that she served, and it was truly a privilege and an honor. I learned a lot, and she retired a lieutenant colonel. She's living still today, and I have the greatest and utmost respect for all of those who have served, and we'd like to honor our family members by my son reading the late and the current family members that have served.
The late Houston Hanks Sr., my grandfather. Howard Hanks, my namesake. My great uncle, Wardell Miles. James Wallace, also another great uncle. Thomas Waller Jr., Emmons Wallace, Philip Wallace, and James Bailey Jr. Those are all my great uncles. And for the living, Frank Brown Sr., great uncle. Shirley Wallace, my great aunt. Michael Chambers, my uncle. David Tucker Sr., my cousin. Carl Wallace, my great uncle. Greta Wallace, my great aunt. Alfred Lance Sr., my great uncle. And Robert Hanks, my brother. He's right here. And Harvey Hanks, my cousin.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Terry Croat. I'm the planning director. I'd like to honor a few of my family members who have served since the beginning of this country. Private James Shields, my 5th great-grandfather, dates of service May 26, 1777 through June 1783, Colonel Hazen's Regiment. He served in the battles of Brandywine and Germantown and the Siege of Yorktown. He was wounded several times and survived. Sergeant David McConaughey, my third great uncle, served August 15th, 1862, April 28th, 1864. Company F, 11th Infantry Regiment of West Virginia Volunteers, Union Army. He was captured at the skirmish at Beach Fork, Calhoun County, on September 8th, 1863, and died in Andersonville Prison, Georgia, April 28th, 1864. Teamster James P. O'Neill, my second great-grandfather, served in the 5th Regiment, U.S. Cavalry, on the U.S. Plains. Corporal Harry C. Crode, my great-granduncle, served May 2nd, 1916 through March 31st, 1919, Company H, 108th U.S. Infantry's 27th Division. He received the Purple Heart in Belgium and France, was captured by the Germans and rescued by the Aussies, survived the war. Private First Class Frederick Gordon Crode, my granduncle, August 18th, 1943, June 14th, 1944, 358th Infantry Regiment, 90th Infantry Division, U.S. Army, received the Purple Heart, wounded in action, died on June 15th, 1944 in Normandy, France. Motor Machinist Mate First Class, James Ralph Crode, my grandfather, served January 17th, 1944 through December 19th, 1945, USS Landing Craft Infantry Large 815, served in the Battle of Okinawa and the occupation Nagasaki, Japan as a minesweeper. Staff Sergeant Terrence E. Crode Sr., my father, served January 11th, 1961 through January 11th, 1967, 27th Military Police Company of the 27th Armored Division, New York State National Guard.
Good morning. My name is Colleen Bassett, and I wish to honor my father-in-law, Private Leroy Bassett. He served in World War II and was given the Purple Heart and Bronze Star. Years later, Leroy wrote, "On the day of the assault on the beach of France, I was only 19 years old." He goes on to say, "I was in the medics with the frontline infantry, so I was carrying a 40-pound pack of medical supplies, plus a stretcher. On my way off the ship, the stretcher got caught on the stairs, and before the chaplain and I got it unhooked, the ship had already started to move back out into the water. So when we got off, we were in water up to our heads. We then waded to the beach to find the first wave of soldiers who landed at 6 o'clock a.m., still on the beach. This kind of made your stomach tighten. There were so many ships unloading, and only one path which led halfway to the hill. The Germans were still in control at the top of the hill, and every shell landing on the beach was like throwing a stone in the box of raisins." And he goes on to state, "During this time, the sight of the wounded and dead bodies who you had known knotted your stomach." He states, "I was in combat for 36 days and then was wounded by a German artillery shell. Then finally, I was sent home." He said that when he was leaving the beach, he had butterflies in his stomach, but when the French people would come out and wave flags and cry that they were no longer under German rule, it made me feel that we were doing good. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mary Manukian Calhoun. I'm the Gold Star mother of Nicholas J. Manukian. There's so many things that I could say and go on, but I tried to condense it all into a little bit to share about his life. Nick, his Marine brothers called him Manny, born on August 31st, 1984, and resided in Lathrop Village, Michigan. Nick was the only child of Mary and the late Isaac Manukian. Nick was a vibrant and loving husband, stepdad, and son who was deeply loyal and devoted to his family and friends. His bright spirit, humor, and great hugs linger on to everyone who knew and loved him. Nick was a courageous warrior, but also a kind, generous, and soulful spirit who touched many hearts with his poetry, art, music, and drums. He attended McIntyre Elementary School and played hockey for the city of Southfield. After 9/11, Nick wanted to join the Marines and to be a part of the few and the proud. He felt a calling to serve his country. Nick graduated from high school in 2003 and left for Paris Island in June of 2004. He would finish his training in communications out in 29 Palms, California, and go to his duty station at Camp Lejeune. His first deployment came shortly after. In March of 2005, he was deployed to Fallujah, Iraq, with the 1-6 Marines, and he was with H&S Headquarters Company. He returned home safely in October of 2005, and he reconnected with his high school sweetheart, and they married in July of 2006. They would only have a precious couple months together as Nick was redeployed to Ramadi, Iraq in September of 2006. On this deployment, Nick was really proud to be chosen to be his lieutenant's radio man, and he was with Weapons Company Mobile Assault Platoon. Upon arrival, his unit would immediately encounter numerous firefights, ambushes, and roadside bombs in Ramadi, Iraq. On October 9th, 2006, Nick's Humvee was destroyed by an IED. He was knocked unconscious and suffered a level 3 concussion. He was given 2 days rest and back out on patrol again. Nick's platoon was out on patrol doing a route clearing mission on October 21st of 2006 when his unit was attacked with an IED, improvised explosive device. Nick and 2 of his Marine brothers in the Humvee all lost their precious lives that night. Some of Nick's decorations and awards include the Navy Achievement Medal with Combat V, 2 Purple Hearts, Good Conduct Medal, Combat Action Ribbon, and many more. Nick was 22 years old, and I'd like to ring the bell for him today. Thank you for letting me share his story.
Hi, my name is Allison Bettis, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to give honor and tribute to my father, Alphonse Bettis, who served in the Korean War. And I did just want to mention, when he came back from the war, he worked and saved and bought us a house and in Northwest Detroit. And when he found all of the neighbors around him, they were his war brothers. And so I also want to pay tribute to Jackie Moore and Harold Baker and Mr. Wardell, who was my math teacher, and I never use his first name. And they were a part of my life until they left us, and they served their country with the honor and dedication that they impacted my life, and it was beautiful. And I appreciate the opportunity to just acknowledge them.
Listening to all these wonderful stories, I was very compelled to talk about my dad, Albert Dreiss. He was in World War II, and he did not carry a gun. He carried a typewriter because he was one of General Patton's secretaries. So he would follow him all over the country. And one story he told us one time that their Jeep got lost and behind enemy lines, and General Patton, he said, just about kicked them around because he was so mad at them for doing that. But my dad had many, many stories doing that with General Patton. So thank you so much for letting me talk about him today.
Good morning. My name is Major Bob Tillman. I'm with the Tuskegee Airmen. I served with the 173rd Airborne Brigade in Vietnam. One of my units was completely wiped out. Of the 100 people that served, only 2 of us alive today. But I want to talk about a gentleman that was with the Tuskegee Airmen. His name was Walter P. Manning. And I would wish everybody would Google this man here. He was a black pilot. He was shot down over Austria. And the propaganda, the Nazi propaganda at the time, used his accident to hang him. He was lynched. And they said that blacks were being lynched in the South. So his was the demonstration, what they did in Austria. 73 years later, they honored the other gentleman that flew with him on that mission, Colonel Stewart. He's a member of our chapter, along with Colonel Alexander Jepson, who's also shot down, who was a prisoner of war. So I wish you would Google, his name is Walter P. Manning, Tuskegee Airman, World War II. Thank you.
I would like to honor first my 2 uncles, Leroy Jones and Eddie Jones. Both served in World War II. But mainly I would like to honor the women of the Women's Army Corps Veterans Association, both past and present. I have my mentor, Essie Woods, passed away, but she served with the 688th, the only female unit to go abroad, and they were cited as never losing a package. The soldiers always received their packages in the mail, and when a soldier was deceased, they found a soldier that was not receiving mail and would give a package to them. And secondly, I'd like to honor my most recent member who we just lost a couple of weeks ago. She will be buried at Great Lakes, Bessie Mallory. And my heart goes out to all departed soldiers and to our living association, past and present. I would like to honor them, and to you, the living and the first responders. Thank you so much for your service.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Tyrone Chapman. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I'm darn proud of that fact. Today, I'd like to honor my own father, Johnny Crosby Chapman, a veteran of the Vietnam War, who earned his Purple Heart at the Battle of Pem Huy Jon in the Republic of Korea. I'd also like to honor my battle buddy, Emmanuel Montague, who was killed in action while we were on operations in the Tay Ninh province of Vietnam.
Good morning. First of all, thank you to everyone who has served. I couldn't do it, and I'm so proud of all of you who can and who have. I'd like to honor two gentlemen in my life. The first is my grandfather on my mother's side, Alan Gerald Hotchkiss. He was a lieutenant colonel in World War II. He did not see action. He was a troop trainer here in the States. The only bits I know of him basically have come from stories that were told to me as he died when I was 10 years old of Parkinson's disease in the Veterans Hospital in Marion, Indiana. The other person is my father-in-law, Thomas Mahoney. Tom was a Marine who served on the battleship the Boxer. And it took a minute for them to explain to me how Marines were on a Navy ship, but evidently there was a platoon of them, and he served then on the Boxer during some very tough times in the Korean War. Tom was a very gentle soul. He has since passed away as well, but a greater man I have not known. And so my memories are of those two gentlemen today, and I'd like to honor all of you. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Jerry Gorski. I'm a member of the VFW in Southfield. Last month in St. Louis, I was elected the chairman of the Big Ten, so I represent 10 states now, about 250,000 VFW members. I'm second generation Navy. My grandfather was in the Army. There's so many veterans that I'd like to honor today, but I'll tell you what happened to me a year and a half ago when I was a state commander of Michigan. I was asked to do a eulogy for a survivor of the USS Indianapolis. Give you a little preview about that one. His name was Andalor Palmiter. He's buried in a Milford Cemetery today. Back in June of 1945, the USS Indianapolis, a heavy cruiser, carried the atomic bomb over to Tinman Island, which later the Enola Gay dropped on Hiroshima. The crew didn't know about this at all. So they set out. After they dropped it off, they were told to go to gunnery exercises over in the Philippines area. On the way there, June 30th, they got torpedoed by two torpedoes of a Japanese submarine. There was 1,197 sailors aboard that ship. The ship went down in 5 minutes. Out of the 1,197, there was 900 that went in the water. So the rest of them went down with the ship. I was asked to do a eulogy for this sailor, 18-year-old, went in the water, seaman second class. They were in the water for 4.5 days. Nobody knew where that ship was because President Truman was the person that gave the orders, and nobody knew about any whereabouts of this ship. For 4.5 days, the sharks ate the sailors. Some of them swallowed seawater and died. 318 survived after 4.5 days. 318 out of 1,197 sailors. So I got to do that eulogy. I did a lot of research, read books, saw 2 movies, Googled as much as I could so I could do the proper eulogy for this sailor. Just recently, a month and a half ago in Lansing, Michigan, I went to a VFW post and got to meet and talk for 2 hours and tape the last remaining of 5 sailors. Name is Richard Thalen. And also the survivors, most of them, some of them didn't want to put anything in their book, but anyhow, I'm reading the book now. It's very interesting. If you get a chance, Google it and read about it, watch the movie. So I'd like to honor all these sailors that gave so much during World War II. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is John Williams, United States Navy veteran, 1958-1964. And when I say I'm here to honor 21 people here today, I'm not going to go through 21 people, but I got a total group of 21 guys that I want to remember. 12 March 1960, Seaman Terrence Francis McGee was swept overboard from our ship in the Mediterranean Sea. I've heard mentions here of 19. He was 19 years old at the time. I was 19 years old at the time. It was our first deployment to the Mediterranean. This guy lost his life in peacetime in the service of his country. Where's my other thing here? Fast forward here, I had a sheet here, there it is. Fast forward to October 1st, 1972. My ship, the USS Newport News, was off North Vietnam shelling enemy positions. A 325-pound high-explosive projectile exploded inside the barrel of the center barrel of gun turret number 2. It killed these 20 guys that are listed on here. They're on a wall in Washington. They died in wartime. This guy died in peacetime, but they gave their lives in the service of their country. They never got a chance to be veterans. As soon as that check was cashed, they are. Two rings.
Good afternoon. And it is, I just checked the clock, it is afternoon now. This is an incredibly amazing part of the program, and I'm so glad that the City of Southfield included this part. I wanted to come, and my name is James Jackson again, and I wanted to come and honor my father, Jimmy Jackson, who served in the United States Army, was a Vietnam veteran, served in the 101st Airborne, and moved us to Southfield back in the late 70s, and which afforded me the opportunity to actually go to Glenn W. Levy Middle School in my youth. So this is an incredibly meaningful program. But I just wanted to recognize my dad and honor him. Had it not been for the United States, his service in the United States Army, I literally would not be here because he met my mom while stationed at Fort Campbell, which is home of the Screaming Eagles. And I'm extremely proud of his service and extremely proud of the lessons that he taught me growing up. It says a lot about the type of character that exists in our United States military. I come from a military family. A lot of my relatives have served in uniform. And my dad's, the memory of my father, he's passed about 10 years ago, and he's buried at Jefferson Barracks in Missouri. And his service and just the lessons he taught me has truly shaped the type of person that I feel I am today, both in my service through the Senator's office as well as my current service in the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. I have nothing but love and respect for all those who put on the uniform and have served our country. Thank you so much.
I am Dan Brightwell. As some of you know, I'm pretty emotional, but listening to the stories were really touching. I have an uncle, I had an Uncle Bub. He served in the Korean War. He was our favorite uncle, and my mother, she happened to mention that was her favorite brother, and he was the favorite uncle of all of our family. And I just happened to have his name. His name was Daniel. We called him Bub in the family. So she indicated that my uncle was never the same. After he came back from the Korean War. So, but anyway, excuse me for being emotional like that, but one of the reasons that I wanted to say something, as I was the chairman of the Southfield Veterans Commission for about 10 years, and the Veterans Commission has a good body of work. During that period of time, I interviewed over pretty close to 300 veterans, and since we were telling these historical stories here, I want to let you know where there's a body of work at the Library of Congress in Washington. All the interviews that we performed, they are there in Washington. We interviewed Mr. Jefferson, who was referenced here. We interviewed Mr. Tyrone Chapman, and numerous other individuals here. And also some of the tapes are in the Southfield Library. So if you are really interested in some real dynamic military histories that include individuals who were a part of the atomic bomb testing, numerous other things, individuals that that were actually on Normandy Beach. One of their jobs as a private was walking around picking up body parts. So we had some very unique stories. So the website is LOC, that's Library of Congress, loc.gov/VHP, that's Veterans History Project. And also some of the tapes or the disc are in the Southfield Public Library. So if you're really interested in military history and the work of our Southfielders, and we interviewed individuals from all over Metro Detroit, please go to that particular site. And I want to commend the Southfield Veterans Commission for having this, for let's say rearranging the program. I want to thank the mayor for getting involved, and he rearranged the program with the assistance of the Southfield Veterans Commission. I think we have a winner here. I want to thank the mayor and also everybody.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lois Jones, and I'm with the Southfield CERT team. And my overseer, who runs the CERT team, he was a veteran also, and he would have been here today. His name is Tim Workers. But last night, while he was on duty at the airport, he had a massive stroke. And he's at Beaumont Hospital. They airborne over here to Beaumont Hospital. He's a veteran, and he's a CERT management team. So I would like to know if we could take out the time just to say a prayer for him, that he will be all right. Dear God, I pray that our friend and veteran Tim Workers will leave him in your hands, Father, at this time, because we know that you are a great healer. And we ask, dear God, if you would watch over him, bless him and keep him. And at this moment in his life, we need for you to be there with him. And this we ask of you, and thank you for Father. Amen.
My name is William Miller, and I am a Korean veteran. And I don't think there's too many Korean veterans around right at this present. I was just looking around, see most of them was Vietnam vet. But I just want to say it's a privilege as well as an honor for me to stand here and say a few words about my past veteran experience. I got drafted in the military at the age of 25 years old in the Korean War in 1951. 16 weeks of infantry base and training at Camp Roberts, California. And from there to Camp Drake, Japan for process. And from there to Korea. They didn't stop me until they got me up across the 30th parallel, which we call North Korea. And I was assigned to 213 Field Artillery. And I fought on two hills. One was Papasan Hill, the number was 1062. That was in Chawon Valley. We got overran there and we moved to Kumwa Valley. We fought on the hill they called Papasan Hill. That hill was 195. And I was blessed in 1953 when I left there, I was blessed to return back to the United States of America. that was a blessing. Thank you for allowing me that.
In the interest of time, I'm not going to read this resolution on bells of peace. I'll just mention that the City Council at its last meeting joined the national movement through a Bells of Peace resolution honoring Veterans Day and the conclusion of World War I. The City Council adopted that resolution. So at this point in the program, we are going to move outside for the raising of the flag by our color guard. I invite you to bring your coats. You can line up along the side of the building. There is an overhang, so you're out of the weather. I am going to ask the Michigan Veterans Foundation members to bring the wreath forward. We will place it, as we do every Memorial Day and Veterans Day, at the stone out front, honoring our veterans. And we will have, I believe, a 21-gun salute and taps, and a benediction by Reverend Regal. And then the program will conclude in the pavilion. If you can stay, there's some light refreshments. Again, thank you for coming today. We're going to walk outside now, line the side of the building. The flag will be raised out front, and then we'll go over to the memorial stone. And if you'd let the Michigan Veterans Foundation leave the room first, I'd appreciate that.
Oh, the glory of the Lord is tramping out vintage where the grapes are at the store. He'll lose the faith in me. It's terrible, sweet soul. Its truth is my chain on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is my chain on. In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea. Glory, His bosom, He transfigured you and me. As He died to make me holy, let us die.